Welcome to the Community Corrections Partnership December 1st, 2022 meeting. I'd like to ask the clerk to call the roll to establish a quorum.
Good morning, Member Benson.
Present.
Member Sullivan.
Present.
Member Brookins. Member Lutz. Member White.
Present.
Member Donnelly.
Present.
Member Cathari.
Here.
Member Lester. Member Jones.
Here.
Member Norgard.
Here.
Member Walker.
Here.
And Chair Yarber.
Here.
And we have a quorum.
Thank you, clerk. And I believe I see member, is this member Lutz coming down the stairs? Sorry, he is masked up, so his identity is a little bit challenging. Sir, you're welcome to join us at the dais. And as he makes his way up, I might ask Public Defender Amanda Benson if you would not mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance this morning.
Of course, thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one
one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you for that. Clerk, would you please read the Metro Cable 14 opening statement and the meeting announcement?
And for the record, Member Lutz is present.
Thank you.
This meeting of the Sacramento County Community Corrections Partnership is being cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government's affairs channel, on Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse. This meeting is closed captioned and live streamed at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting will replay on Sunday, December 4th at 2 p.m. on Channel 14. This meeting can also be viewed at youtube.com/MetroCable14. In compliance with the directives of the county, state, and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the meeting is live streamed and open to public attendance pursuant to health and safety guidelines. The practice of social distancing and wearing of face coverings is recommended for the health and safety of all persons participating in person during the meeting, although it is not required. To make a comment in person, please fill out a speaker request form and hand it to clerk staff. The chairperson will open public comments for each agenda item or call for off-agenda matters. When the chairperson calls your name, go to the podium and make your comment. To make a public comment by phone, dial 916-875-2500 and follow the prompts to be placed in queue for a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter. Please refer to the agenda and/or watch the meeting to follow along to determine when is the best time to call to be placed in queue to make your public comment. Clerk staff will transfer calls into the meeting accordingly. Each agenda item queue will remain open until the public comment period is closed for that specific item. You may be on hold for up to an extended period of time, and your patience is appreciated. You may send written comments by email to boardclerk@saccounty.net. Your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record. And that ends the clerk's statement.
Thank you so much. And just a reminder for our members, as if we didn't need it, the Pledge of Allegiance always reminds me, but this is a hybrid in-person/video teleconference meeting, and there are a few best practices for us to follow in regards to our participation. So please mute your phone if you are not speaking, if you're joining by phone, and please announce yourself before speaking. And with that said, let me just again welcome everyone. We have a few folks in chambers and certainly our members joining us via teleconference. Happy holidays to all of you. Hope everyone had a restful Thanksgiving. It's already December 1st. We have a couple discussion items for today, as well as our usual public comment. And if there are no other opening comments from any of our members, I might ask the clerk to please read the first item into the record.
Item 1 is Community Corrections Partnership Advisory Board update.
Thank you. And good morning, Ms. Foster. How are you?
Good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to be with you today. We have several updates from the Community Corrections Partnership Advisory Board, who last met earlier in November. So my goal, if this pleases the CCP, is to kind of go through each update and then provide an opportunity to receive some feedback from the CCP at that time.
That would be great. Thank you.
So the first things that the CCP has been up to, or CCPAB has been up to, is that they have 2 ad hoc committees that are working on outreach to various audiences. The first outreach committee is focused on the justice-involved population, and their goal is to make sure that our AB 109 plan updates each year reflect input from our justice-involved community, particularly in trying to better understand what worked for them when they've had successes, what have been the causes or barriers that have led to setbacks, and how we can address that with our AB 109 plan. So this group has met frequently, and they have brought a proposal last month to the CCPAB for how they'd like to proceed with reaching out to this community. Primarily, they've been looking at using a survey and then also using a series of focus groups. The survey would be kind of spread far and wide to anyone who has any kind of justice involvement in Sacramento County or otherwise. And there would be a series of demographic questions that are still being worked out. But the goal and the meat of the survey would really consist of 4 questions, which are, in your opinion, what would have prevented you from entering the justice system? What programs, services, and supports worked for you? What programs, services, and supports did not work for you? And are there any programs, services, supports that you feel would have improved your experience while incarcerated or supported you during reentry or upon reentry? So there's kind of this 2-pronged approach that the CCPAB is planning to take here. The survey would be launched in January so that we have time to work with some experts as to how to best phrase our questions so that they're the most accessible but also phrased sensitively. We want to make sure that we're balancing those interests while making sure everyone can understand the survey but not causing offense. And then the goal of the survey and of the focus groups is really to walk away with some understanding of trends, to look at who are we reaching when we're talking to this larger group, to get a summary of what population we're surveying, and then kind of what are the takeaways, what are the consistent themes that we're seeing, what are the recurring efforts. We understand this is not going to be a statistically significant survey. This is not research, in its truest form, but it's a way to get information from a broader audience than we've ever have, and to see what threads we can glean from that. And then our goal is to bring whatever the results of those surveys and those focus groups are, to be able to do a little bit of analysis, to bring that to the CCPAB, and then of course to the CCP for inclusion in, and hopefully that can help inform the next edition of our AB 109 plan update. So what we have here, didn't provide you with a copy of the draft survey at this time because it's very much still in draft form, but we do have just kind of an understanding of the approach to the survey and to the different focus groups. And so we're looking for any feedback or suggestions that you have as we continue down this road so that I can bring that back to the ad hoc groups and to the CCPAB generally to help inform them in their next steps.
So with that, I'll maybe turn to the members, both in chambers and joining via teleconference, see if there are any thoughts or suggestions or feedback at this point. While, I do see Amanda Benson has asked to speak.
Yes,
Go
I
ahead.
just want to commend the group. I think this is a very innovative idea to bring this in, and I appreciate the thoughtful and strategic thinking that the CCPAB is doing to incorporate this. I realize this is in draft form. I think it's a great idea. I think that as you develop the survey and develop the questions, that I would hope that you're working with people who have already gone through the system and succeeded in terms of drafting the questions. And I imagine you're doing that through all of the outreach you're doing. It's a great idea. I look forward to seeing the results, and hopefully the survey will reach, a wide range of people. And so I know you're working with some very good experts, and you have wonderful people on the AB who have a lot of experience in this area. So I look forward to seeing the results on that.
Thank you. Yeah, the questions that are the ones that are stated there, that's really going to be the actual questions being asked. And so we understand people provide different narrative responses, and we'll have a lot of sifting to do in interpreting that. I think where we've had probably the most challenges behind the scenes is really narrowing down that demographic series of questions and how to phrase those, and how to make sure that we're with the understanding we're never going to have be able to chart one person's specific path and be able to interpret that. We're not seeking to do that. We're seeking to kind of get these global trends and understanding. And then these will be the same questions asked in the focus groups as well, so that we have kind of that consistent themage throughout what we're doing.
Thank you for that. Laura, can you remind me how many focus groups again are
I think
the
they're targeting
CCPAB attempting? 4.
Yeah, they're targeting 4, just for feasibility of what they can actually achieve. And I think there'll be about 2-hour time blocks roughly, and they'll consist around these 4 questions. We're looking 10 to 20 people, or 12 to 20, no more than 20 persons in a group, to allow for just really kind of free-flowing conversation. And I'll be there to take notes as kind of a consistent note taker throughout these experiences, and those discussions will be led by different members of the CCPAB. We've looked at a couple of different options, and we're still narrowing down exactly which audience it should be, but we're looking at treatment centers, we've looked at our CCC, we've looked at a couple different areas where we can really rely on the expertise of those within our CCPAB to help us connect with the best audience to get more full answers than we might receive in a survey.
Oh, very helpful. Thank you. And you answered, I think, a question that I was going to pose to you. Appreciate also the work of the CCPAB. I agree with Member Benson as it relates to kind of the interest here. It's always insightful when we, seek to get the feedback from those that we serve, particularly with regards to direct service. It's always surprising to me sometimes what we get back. So I'm very curious to hear what the survey will result in. In addition to that, just really, applaud the work of the CCPAB to sort of continue to think through how to both address the needs of the system as well as the needs of our community. I don't see that there are any other questions or comments at this point, so maybe I'll turn back to you if you want to continue on.
Absolutely. So the next ad hoc group is focused on forgive me, my voice is all, went to Thanksgiving, came back with a cold. So the next ad hoc group is focused on public awareness and community engagement, because we recognize that we want to be in contact with more than just the justice-involved population. We also recognize that not many people necessarily know what or who the CCP is, what CCPAB is, and what the AB 109 realignment consisted of. So really there's kind of a dual approach with this next group, is they want to tell people that we exist and what we do and who we are, and provide an opportunity for them to be in contact with us, letting them know when our meetings are, letting them know ways that they can connect with us that go beyond the meeting, which consist of, at this time, there's plans for 2 different, at least community workshops or community meetings. We're not sure what those will look like, whether they'll be virtual or in person, whether we're going to go into multiple districts or we're going to, again, centralize it in some way. Those are still up for discussion. That's the kind of next steps with this group. But the starting point was to develop a flyer, which you see attached here. Thanks to the probation team, helped us out getting that going. And then really just the work of this group has been highly collaborative. Everyone is interested in making sure that we are reaching beyond just the same group of people that already know we're here. We want to make sure that our AB 109 plan reflects broader community input and that there's multiple opportunities to provide that input. And this group is tasked with kind of leading that charge. So you'll see there's also a draft of a PowerPoint in here. We've already gotten some really great feedback as to how to improve it from the CCPAB itself and from others. And so it's very much in draft form. We know that we can always make it better. And at this point, that PowerPoint's not being launched anywhere. We're going to put it online once we have a final product that we are really pleased with and feel like it's been fleshed out. But it might be used during those community meetings, or if the CCPAB ad hoc committee decides to go out and do more specified individual outreach to different groups, they can have this as a tool for them to guide them through some general overview of AB 109, of realignment, of CCPAB and CCP. So really that group is aimed at broadening the connection with the community overall and finding ways to receive additional feedback. So we're looking for input and
Sure, I
feedback
was
from
say, you're seeking the same sort of interest, at least in comment, if any. I will just ask, is there any thought about interface with other boards or commissions, either via, the courts bodies or county bodies that might have some interface with the work that we're doing?
Absolutely. I know that has definitely come up. There are, that's one of the intentions, is to make sure that we're connecting both with the broad public as well as individual bodies and different groups. So if you know of anyone, please always, you can shoot me an email, you can send it to the CCPAB email itself, and we'll be happy to make sure we make those contacts at the very minimum, getting them our flyer, getting them some basic information, and then they can request additional information from us if that would be helpful. We want to make sure that information, thankfully through our partner departments, that we have all of our wonderful agency reps and we have community reps on the CCPAB. So they're doing a lot of that outreach already and bridging those connections, but we know that we can do more, and we want to provide an opportunity for that more to happen. So we figure that the more we can spread the word and let people know that this document exists, the AB 109 plan exists. Another thing that this group is hoping to do is to ask CCP member departments if they'll post the AB 109 plan beyond just sharing it on the probation site. So making sure that different departments who have AB 109 eligible programming are spreading the word, helping to kind of get it out there and make this a document that becomes familiar and commonplace and well known within our community and within our partner agencies here.
Great, thank you. Any other comments or questions from members of the partnership? I do not see or hear any. So I'll turn back to you, Laura, if you want
Thank
to
you.
finish out the item.
One thing I forgot to mention on the last item, which is a little bit logistical in nature, which is we wanted to also make sure that our meetings are able to reach more people. Right now they're on Mondays, second Monday of every month from 10:30 to noon, and we recognize not everyone can participate in person, so we also had a room that was starting to fill up, so now we're meeting in chambers here. That just changed this last month, and we'll be moving to virtual, not virtual attendance for our members, but virtual attendance for the public, providing that access starting in January. We'll be testing it out this month in December, and then kind of a pilot, and then in January we'll be fully able to offer that option so that more people can tune in. Moving on. So the next area is what we've discovered, particularly in the last year, and I'm still, fairly new to this myself. I started in July with the CCPAB and CCP and have just kind of picked up and been running with this. And what I've discovered is that it would be really helpful for us to have something that drives our drumbeat as we move forward to our next AB 109 plan update. We have a really passionate group of individuals at the CCPAB, and everyone has their own projects and interests and things that are important and valuable to them, and that's fantastic. But we also have to make sure that we're working towards our annual goal of getting these AB 109 updates done, and done in a way that people can have time to review them and receive them. And I think that that's one thing where we can continue to do better. What we don't want every year is to come forward to you in October and have a surprise all-new plan that then you have to just receive and either approve or reject and have that time pressure. And that's not our goal. We want a well-informed plan that is supported by all of our decision makers here and informed by the advisory board as well. So our goal is to get drafts of that plan done earlier. So we figured out, how are we going to do that this year? So we've kind of laid out a work plan for the AB 109 plan update. And in your many series of attachments that you have here, one of them is the tentative schedule. It kind of looks like this. And this tentative schedule, essentially what it outlines is how we're going to get to this update. The first piece of that puzzle is that we want to hear from the agency members themselves. We want to hear from our different agency reps that are on the CCPAB. It does not have to be the CCPAB member themselves. It can be someone from that department or agency, but we want to really understand what is it that department and there's also a guideline called presentation guidelines that I'm referring to here. But what programs and services does that department offer that align with the priorities in the AB 109 plan update? What programs and services provided by the department are most effective at achieving the 3 goals laid out in the AB 109 plan? That's to achieve or maintain and improve community safety, reduce recidivism and returns to custody, and decrease use of the jail through expansion of community-based treatment and services. We also would like to know from these departments what programs and services they would like to see expanded and what new innovative ideas that the department has to bring forward for inclusion in the plan. And so we are hoping to make sure that this plan is both informed by our community members and by our justice partners, that providing them an opportunity to give these presentations to the CCPAB and really lay out some of the great work that they're doing can, one, help the CCPAB get a really great picture of all these different components that are in play, some of which are funded here by AB 109 money, but others are not. Others are all eligible, but are being funded by other means. And we want to make sure we have a grasp on what all of those programs are so that we can build out the best priorities in the AB 109 plan update next year. So that's the starting point, is to hear from the departments. Then we'd also like to make sure that we hear back from the different ad hoc groups that are doing all this great outreach work. We'd like to establish a subcommittee that's going to be actually doing some of the writing of this. We hope to produce a plan that is more condensed than last year's. But what that means is that for every word that you take out, your word choice matters even more. And so we want to be very careful and very thoughtful with how we approach this AB 109 plan update so that this, again, document can become digestible and appreciated and used for every department when they're building their growth requests each year, that it can become a foundational tool for this county to be really proud of. Then we also want to provide an opportunity to review our data. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. But making sure that at least every year that we're touching base on what data we have available, doing a presentation to the public through the CCPAB and the CCP that shows what that data is so that we know we can make data-informed decisions. We also recognize that it may take us a while to really start collecting all of that information. We may not be collecting it now. We may not have it available now, but we have to start somewhere, and we have to start painting that picture a little bit better. So that's a part of the plan as well, or at least our work plan. Then we want to have those community workshops and get early drafts out so that the community can provide some feedback, and that we really can work with the CCP on having them, create the prioritization for how we want to approach this plan, and have every step of this journey with the CCPAB work in lockstep with the CCP, so that every month after our 2 months of meetings that we come to you and we say, here's what we've learned, what are your thoughts, what are your takeaways, and periodically asking for specific approvals so that we can have really clear direction going forward into the next plan. And that's kind of the overall process that we're looking at here. Let me look back at my notes, see if there's anything else that I'm missing. But I believe that would be kind of the direction we're looking at, is to have drafts of the plan done in kind of June, July, so there's plenty of opportunity for community feedback, for CCP feedback, and that we can really make a document that shines and reflects the true intentions of the CCP through recommendations from the CCPAB and the community.
Well, thank you for that. Appreciate the schedule of activities by month as well, as I think it helps lay out sort of the process, particularly as it relates to these meetings and discussions, interface with the community, as you mentioned, and keeps us all on track with regards to the things that we've agreed to do relative to both data and obviously looking at outcomes and how it might inform future decisions. Should we have flexibility in any area? Let me turn to both those in chambers as well as anyone who's joining us via video teleconference. Any comments or questions? And I do not see any. So, Clerk, let me ask, are there any public comments for this first agenda item?
We have no public comments for item 1.
None. And are there any comments from those in chambers?
We do have one more piece of the update before we're all done with item 1.
Sure. Sorry. Well, I'll turn back to you then, Laura. Continue.
All right, so we just mentioned the data piece, and that is our last, I guess, they're really our last ask. And while I'm bringing it up here, it's really going to be what follows today, which is that different departments will be receiving emails over the next couple weeks asking, as we go through the documents that are in our AB 109 plan, that over the past year, we laid out several metrics, how we want to track individual program and service goals. At the end of the day, how we receive funding for the CCP is built on a kind of or how for AB 109 is kind of a complicated formula, and it's comparative to other counties, so it's not perfect. But we want to make sure that we are achieving the goals that we set out to do, that our programs are meeting the intentions that we believe that they are supposed to. And so we're just starting that way of trying to track these different programs, to trying to understand what's helping them be successful, what are maybe hindrances to success, and we just can't know until we start getting into the weeds. And that, there's not a data repository that I just have access to where I can go and pull all the data. I can pull a lot from our budget numbers, from other sources, but I will be really relying on CCP member agencies to help me connect with the right people in their departments to get the right information associated with certain programs, collaborative court programs or pretrial programs or other things that are part of this AB 109 plan, to be able to get some base data. And that is laid out in the AB 109 plan update. We also, again, understand not everything can be collected, but we also want to know what we can and can collect so that we can refine our asks in each year's plan update, so that we're clear with the community about what we're managing, what we're tracking, and how we're monitoring the success of these programs. And that's a twofold piece. It's the individual programs and metrics, and also these broader community goals that have their own metrics associated with them.
Thank you, and again, apologize for getting ahead. As I recall our prior meeting and having a discussion around data, so hearing you mention data, I'm already there in many ways. So I'll just ask again, making sure that there's no public comment on the item.
We have no public comment.
Great, and I don't believe anyone in chambers is asking to speak on this item as well. Can we close the public comment and confirm with the clerk there's no one else? Excellent, all right. Let's please then read item 2 into the record, Madam Clerk.
Item 2 is fiscal year 2022-23 budget for detailed expenditure plan.
Thank you. And Laura, I believe you're going to lead us through this one as well.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and introduce it, but then I'll toss it over to Deputy County Executive Eric Jones, because really this is a request from, through, and for him.
Thank you.
Essentially, we understand the community for a very long time has had a keen interest in how AB 109 funds are being spent. We hear it at our board meetings, we hear it here, we hear it everywhere. That conversation is inevitable and it's important. But we want to make sure that we are supplying our key decision makers with the right information that they need to help make those valuable decisions down the line, and that we provide opportunities for the public to have some input, and particularly this CCP to have some input into not necessarily the final decisions that ultimately sits with the Board of Supervisors, but in making some of the recommendations to help guide how we use our AB 109 funding. So I'm going to turn that over to Eric.
Thank you, Laura. Through the chair, I'll go ahead and present.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. So this is actually quite standard, I think, for many counties statewide, and we're already headed this way with asking a lot of the departments who are up here today and other agencies who receive AB 109 funding to provide information back to the CEO's office on how that money is spent and what, for example, what community-based organizations, nonprofits are contracted or otherwise resourced out through AB 109 money. And we asked for that information really primarily to first dispel some myths about that all of this AB 109 money is going just to law enforcement or is just going to probation, sheriff's office for more staff, or et cetera. I think part of that was just because we as a county, and I'll speak for the CEO office, haven't put that information out there, or at least made it public-facing and transparent enough. And we actually found out there were, I don't even remember, Laura, if you remember the number, but there were well over 20 various reentry programs and funding that went out through for training and job training and counseling. And so I was quite impressed by the list. So kind of taking that next step is we're asking that, for one, that I have an understanding on where the AB 109 funding has been going and for what purpose. And so we're starting with first requiring each agency and department involved a list of full-time positions that AB 109 funds, as well as a list of contracted services and associated costs funded by AB 109. And this is, again, for a couple reasons. The first is to consolidate this information for the county executive's office to approve the overall AB 109 funding plan before it goes to the Board of Supervisors, but also over time to make sure that we are putting that public facing and making sure the community understands what the AB 109 funding is going toward. So, and this is related quite a bit to item 1, which if we're thinking of the process here, we're receiving a lot of community input, always, and we should be. And then the CCP Advisory Board will be giving recommendations on priority concepts of where the funding could perhaps go, but really what are the funding priorities or priority concepts. This board, the CCP, will actually approve those priorities. Then it would go to this is sort of the process, then it goes up to the county executive's office and finance office to determine, okay, where will that funding be placed as a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors, which has ultimate authority. So this will be a bit of a change, a shift of the historical just certain percentages going to different departments just based on whether the provided funding goes up or goes down, just those same percentages go to each agency or department. And we will actually be looking from the DCE's office of, not necessarily looking at the percentages, but looking at May's consent decree. That's going to be priority 1. So where will this funding be best suited for compliance within the May's consent decree, as an example? So I just wanted to put that out to the group as to why we're asking for this information as a first step, which is just each department and agency provide what do you have with AB 109 currently, FTEs, full-time positions, as well as organizations that you're partnering with. And I will just take this opportunity to explain, because it's related. So regarding May's consent decree, next Wednesday, December 7th, will be a Board of Supervisors meeting agenda hearing on the county's plan for May's consent decree compliance. And I wanted to make sure everyone knew the time has changed, the start time. This is for the public as well as all of our agency partners. It was originally to be 2 p.m., and it's actually going to begin at 11 a.m. next Wednesday.
A little bit more on this item in particular. So we are making that request that that information for this fiscal year's budget be sent to Deputy County Executive Jones by the end of the month, if possible. And the goal is then to take and understand if we were to continue funding those programs at that same level next year, to be able to help us work with the budget team to understand what that would be. A representative from the Office of Budget and Debt Management will be here at the February meeting. That'll be kind of the first time we're having some of these budget conversations in person at the CCP level. And that will be in February. They'll be there to discuss the AB 109 revenue projections and how that relates to, based on the information provided from the members of this board, what it would look like to continue funding those same programs next year, and if there is additional funds available, how would the CCP would like them to be spent? And then just making sure that when departments are submitting their growth requests, we recognize that this all happens kind of at the same time, that when you're submitting your growth requests, if they're AB 109 eligible, to make sure that you're referencing the place in the AB 109 plan that this is identified as a priority item. That'll be really helpful for Deputy County Executive Jones and the team to be able to make sure that we're always tying our plans back to our actual AB 109 plan. We update it every year, so it makes sense that our priorities might change a little bit and shift every year as well, without at this time going for a wholesale, starting from the ground up, building that funding strategy.
Thank you. Well said, Laura. And that's, let's make the wonderful assumption that there might be more funding available. We don't know for certain. It changes year to year. But should that be the case, exactly as Laura said, every growth request needs to be tied to the CCP plan and specifically the subsections of the plan, because things, as you know, during budget season will have to be prioritized. Thank you.
Well, thank you both. And I'll say, perhaps great timing in many ways. And I do agree it's likely very much a standard practice to share this information, obviously, up with the county executive's office. So certainly something probation's willing to do. And I think I speak for the rest of the departments who are involved in implementing programs as well. The other thing is, I think you're dead on, Deputy County Exec Jones, as it relates to, the direction I think we expect from the board with regards to this particular funding stream. As I, had the pleasure of presenting the plan, the CCP plan, recently to them, and it was very clear that they intend to come back to that as perhaps an opportunity to help address the needs of the consent decree. So let me pause there. Laura, anything else before I maybe seek comment or feedback?
No, that's all that I have. I wasn't sure if Melinda Avey, our CCPAB chair, was on the line, and just wanted to, if she is on the line, provide her with an opportunity to speak before. I should have done that on the last item, but it looks like she may not be. Oh, there she is.
I think I just see her now.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Yes, good
Thank you,
morning.
Laura. As always, Laura's done a great job summarizing what we are going to do and what we're going to be doing. I want to emphasize that we're being really intentional in increasing transparency and accessibility to our committee, both by meeting in a larger room and doing it via Zoom, and also going out to the community who can't come to us, and doing that broadly throughout the community. We know there's a high degree of interest in criminal justice, so we want to give them the opportunity to speak up, as well as our justice-involved individuals that will not be able to attend our meeting. So I just wanted to underscore that. And again, thank you, Laura, and thank you to all of our advisory board members who've worked. They're working really hard. We have a busy year right now and coming up. So thank you, and thank you for your support.
No, thank you. Certainly more work to come, as I see. That plan looks pretty comprehensive in my estimation, so appreciate those efforts and your leadership again.
Thank you.
So if there are no other additional presentation notes, let me turn back to the clerk to see if there's any public comment with regards to item 2.
We have no public comment for item 2.
And no one in chambers either. No one's come forward. Well, let's close the comment if there are no other commenters. And at this point, let's turn to item number 3. Clerk, if you would not mind reading it into the record.
Item 3 is public comment on non-agenda items.
And I do know we did receive some written comments yesterday from a member of the public with regards to, I believe, May's consent decree and jail construction potentiality. I don't know if there are any other comments at this time, but we'll certainly open it up. Any other comments?
We have no public comments for item 3.
No public comments. Anyone in chambers? Seeing no one coming forward at this point. If that is all, I believe we are done for today and can adjourn the meeting. Thank you all.